So I'm in one of the little sort of secret side streets in Edinburgh called Semple Close, and behind me you can see an inscription above a doorpost, and it says, "Praise be the Lord my God, my strength and my Redeemer." And then just at the bottom you can see a date on it, and that's the year 1638. And that was a very important year in Scottish history, because it's the year that the National Covenant was signed. And what had happened was that the king had declared himself to be the head of the church. And so in the Bible it says that Jesus is the head of the church. It says that we're to respect our earthly leaders, our rulers, and for us that would be our politicians and the rules that they make. But as soon as they assert themselves above God's law, then we can't really follow what they're saying at that point. And this is what the believers in Edinburgh had found was happening. They knew that if the king was in charge of the church and it was him that was making the rules, then they couldn't really follow God. And so what they did was that they decided to write a document called the National Covenant, and they basically said in that King, we'll follow you in earthly matters. We respect you as the leader of our country, but the head of the church, that's for Jesus Christ. And as they wrote their names on this document, it was considered a sort of a treasonable offence, and so these covenanters were hunted down. Many thousands of them were killed for their faith and the stand that they took. And we see things happening in this area for us, that Jesus says, like, if anyone would come after me, they must deny themselves, take up their cross and follow me. He also says, whoever wants to come after me must be willing to lay down their life. And it says that in Romans 8 that we are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. For your sake, we face death all day long. So there was this one man called John Worry. Around him, many Covenanters were being executed. They were told to have their necks put on the block, and then the executioner would decapitate them, chop their head off. And other Covenanters would have their hands chopped off, because it was with their hands that they had signed this national covenant, saying that they are going to obey God and not the king. And so this executioner came to John Worry, and he said to him, put your right hand on the block. And John Worry didn't actually hear what he was saying, probably because of all that was going on around him. And so he put his neck on the block, and the executioner swore at him, and he said, "I want your right hand and not your neck." And so the executioner chopped off John Worry's right hand, and then he held up the stump, and there was blood spurting everywhere, all over the crowds. And he said, "This blood now seals our covenant." And so these are people who were willing to stand against the rules, the political correctness of their day, even to the point of shedding blood. And you'll see over the next few years laws being passed that will make it illegal, essentially, for Christians to call people to repentance.